A stunning show of support by various sports teams overnight. It began when the NBA's Milwaukee Bucks canceled that playoff game against the Orlando Magic to protest the police killing of Jacob Blake. That decision quickly snowballed, with players and teams in other sports taking a similar stand and canceling their games. For more on what's next, we're joined now by Patrick Rishi. He's the director of sports business program at Washington University in St. Louis. With us as well is our own Jabari Young, sports business reporter at CNBC.com. Patrick, I do want to start with you in trying to understand what you think the implications are, not just the moral implications for sports, but the business implications of where we are in this particularly unique moment.
Well, it's a very unique situation and obviously a historic one. And certainly I do not blame the players at all for taking the stance that they did. But the financial repercussions, if they boycott the remainder of the season, Andrew, are substantial. We're talking in the billions of dollars. The league could potentially enact a force majeure clause where they would essentially disavow the collective bargaining agreement, which could lead to a lockout for the next season. So we're not only talking, Andrew, about billions of dollars lost for this season. What are the potential impacts for the 2021 season? That's on the table as well.
Jabari, help us understand, and I know you've been doing a lot of reporting around this issue, how the players have thought about the protests themselves, but to the extent this is a business question, and there's a big test of leadership coming for Adam Silver in all of this, because he has tried to be, I think, about as supportive as any commissioner could be over the Black Lives Matter issue. How they're thinking about it, and who ultimately, and I hate to talk about money, but we are going to, because we're right here on CNBC trying to understand the business implications. Who's going to ultimately pay for this?
Well, we'll see, and it's okay to talk about money, Andrew, but you also got to understand, in order for the money to be made, the people have to be satisfied, okay? And right now you have the people in the NBA, the players, the product is not satisfied. And you're talking about a league that, remember, shares revenue. And the players are not feeling like their voices are heard enough on these particular issues. And I think they want more answers. It's one thing to say how much money is going to be lost, but human lives are being lost. Black lives are being lost. And I think that's what the issue is with them. I mean, they went, the WNBA has stood on this ground. Maya Moore stood out an entire year to help a man out of prison that was wrongfully, convicted. That's movement. What the NBA players did last night, that's movement. With the MLB players, how they followed, that's movement. I'm looking at the NFL players, because we obviously know the NFL owners have political ties, and talking to people about this. And it's very sensitive because, it's still new, right? The emotions are really still high. But, when you talk about, this type of issue around people around the league, I remember talking to one person last night. He brought up Michael Rubin, the co-partner of the Philadelphia 76ers, and he brought up a line from Meek Mill, and he said to me, Jabari, Meek was right. When Meek said, and I'm paraphrasing, that things don't happen until rich white men get involved, because guess what happened when Meek Mill was going through his criminal justice case? Michael Rubin came to his side. Robert Kraft came to his side. Look at the results. Well, the NBA players, maybe if they have that message, maybe if you had owners all around the world come to the players' side and come to the Black Lives Matter issue, really throw money at it. And the NBA has been phenomenal. They've had their platform. They have Black Lives Matter. They had a $300 million NBA foundation that they started. I was on the phone with Clara Tye, the co-owner of the Brooklyn Nets, and I know they're doing another $50 million. So there are money being tossed at the issues, but I think players want more. And until they get that more, who cares who pays for it? Who cares what happens? Because guess what?
But
Lives are being lost.
Jabari, I think there are a lot of business and policy leaders who are watching us this morning. I think one of the bigger issues here, I don't want to say bigger issues, but an issue here that folks are trying to contend with and think about, is not just what's happening in the NBA, but actually whether this kind of quote unquote work stoppage in the form of a protest is going to spill into other industries. We're seeing it obviously in other sports, but into other industries more broadly. How those businesses are supposed to react, and the interesting component about this is typically when quote unquote employees participate in a work stoppage, it's usually to protest their own employers, and so there's an understanding or an acceptance of the economic ramifications of that, because somehow the employer is not serving their employees properly. That's usually the argument. And so we can understand that economic understanding, right? It becomes harder when you're protesting a larger issue outside of your own employer, and who is protesting? Because it effectively means that the NBA, if they bear the cost of this, and Disney bears the cost of this, and everybody else down that line bears the cost of this, that they as corporations are protesting these issues as well. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying I think that there has to be an understanding of what it all is.
Yeah, certainly. I mean,
you got to understand where it's coming from a human element, though, Andrew. I mean, we talk about business, but again, business can't get done unless human beings are alive to do the business. OK, so, I mean, we can talk about that all the time. And I think that's what you see from the NBA. The NBA they're not employees, they're partners. OK, the NBA and the NBA owners, they're partners. OK, so the employee and employer mix, it doesn't fly in the NBA. It's different. They're CBA, they're tied together. They share revenue. They're partners. It's about a 50-50 split. So they're not employees. This is a boycott. This is a walkout. This is them telling the owners that who have political ties, we need your help. OK, the same way you can buy a team and it can go up in value and you can make a lot of money based off of that team. Are you putting enough money in black communities? Are you helping the areas around that arena that you're developing in real estate and you're developing billions of dollars? Because money talks. And if you put money behind the issues, I mean, maybe you'll see some results.